Carolyn Dube here, and I am playing with Terry Stegmiller's Stencil Club stencil for the month of May. These are some great birds perched on branches with these fun leaves, and I'm just taking acrylic paints and putting it all over the place. I'm putting two colors together there to create some shading and some variation on the birds. I am, of course, going to do my, you know how realistic I am about color. I'm going to do hot pink branches and bright orange leaves. But I'm basically blending and putting all the colors on at one time because I like to do things in as few steps as possible. And here's what it looks like. I did let it dry. Yes, I was very patient and let it dry. And then I'm going to cut these out, cutting as closely as I cut. So I'm leaving a white outline around it. And part of that is because I need there to be a little bit of strength for what I'm going to ask these birds on branches to do. So here's what it looks like, and I left this big sort of trumpeting tail there, and I did that on purpose. So the easiest way that I found to get this to line up so that it'll stencil on the backside is I'm going to take what's already been stenciled and rest it on top of where I stenciled it. That was the easiest way for me to line things up, and I am actually going to put down a little tape to hold this in place just because this thing just moves around on me. Don't have to put a lot of tape on there, just enough to kind of hold it in place in general. So one at one end, one little piece at the other end. And I am using repositionable artist tape there. Washi tape would work great, but something that's not a permanent tape. And once I add the paint to this on this side, now I have a front and back that is stenciled and things line up and it matches. It was so easy. Like, why did I not think to use the other side for stenciling too? It just didn't hit me until today. So when I'm all done, then I'm going to gently peel these apart, and when it's dry, peel off the tape. Well, I painted my art journal page bright yellow and part of the branches here. And with this, what I'm doing is those big trumpet things that I had were a little bigger than what I needed, so I don't need those pieces. But now what I'm going to do is kind of get an idea of where I want to position them, how it feels, do I like the way it looks. Right now, nothing is glued down, so I can sort of make those design decisions without any kind of pressure or sweat. Now, right where the white and the yellow meet, that's where the bend is going to be, right in the fold of the book. And that's going to allow me to make this interactive, and these things are going to flip around. They're delicate enough to be super cool, but they're sturdy enough. Oh, I didn't mention, I did these on watercolor paper. I think it was 140-pound weight watercolor type paper. That way it was on a sturdier weight so it can handle as I kind of beat it up in an art journal page. Well, now it's time to glue these in place. I'm just using regular old gel medium, and on the white side is where I'm going to put the gel medium. I'm going to position it so that bend is right in there at the fold, so it'll fit in there nicely, it'll work with the fold of my journal, and then grabbing a very fancy tool, I'm going to hold it flat in place so that it dries. I could stand there for the next 20 minutes and hold it in place, but I don't have that kind of patience. Same thing here on this one, only this one's going on the other side, and there's a bit of an arch there because my art journal is not flat. So I'm going to need something heavier to hold that one flat, and I will find another very fancy tool to hold this flat also. And a little something that I learned the hard way is that I should have been a little neater with my gel medium so that there wasn't any loose bits around, because what's happening is I'm putting something heavy on it to hold it flat, so if there's loose or unexpected gel medium in places, it might hold down more than you want. Well, these are all dried, and you can see how easily entertained I am flipping them back and forth. But I need to give them some place to be. So I'm going to give them some jelly print hills. This is just sort of scrap jelly printing from who knows when, and I think it's going to make some great hills. I am clearly freehanding these things, trying to get an idea of size, and I'm just going to fiddle with, my fancy measuring technique of fold up and cut about there until I get the hills the way I want them. And it's perfect to me that I'm doing hills with this because these three birds represent three people who have been singing the Sound of Music things around me for about a week. And they were a lot of fun, but now that I'm not with those three people, that song is still stuck in my head. So I'm going to make an art journal page to remind me of how much fun we had playing and laughing and being silly. And of course, these images of hills and birds, which I think of birds as always singing, That obviously helps with the story, but I'm also going to grab a colored pencil here that is very close to the color of my background, so that all the journaling that I'm doing here just becomes texture. It becomes a little something. It's not a really noticeable journaling, but it just gives it that little something extra. Well, now it needs yet more, and I found, I'm so excited about this, an old paper punch that I had. I think we can call this sucker vintage, because it had to be 15 years old. And with the scraps of the jelly print from the hills, I cut out these cute little treble clefs, and I'm going to sprinkle those all around to sort of capture that whole music thing for sure. And I can totally entertain myself for hours, I think, just flipping those birds back and forth and back and forth. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you'll know as soon as my next video is out and won't miss a thing. And I'm just using a Posca marker here to give the hills a little more definition because they weren't really standing out the way I wanted. Nice thing about the Posca pens is they're water-based, so they smear easily. And of course, you can find my full blog post for this over on my blog at acolorfuljourney.com. There are links below in the description on the YouTube video, and I have all the links also over on my blog. Thanks for watching and being a part of this colorful journey. Well, I just can't seem to stop playing with those birds. I think they really are going to entertain me for hours and hours.